Okay, go.
You are now live. Go ahead.
Hey, wonderful. I am James Duffy. I am the event director for the 2023 FAI World Championships for Space Models. And I'm here with my dear friends, Robin Houston and Matt Steele, to provide you guys with a brief overview of the championships, how we got here, what our plans are, and what we hope to have happen with space modeling in the United States going forward. Now, it has been 1 year since the World Championships were last held in the United States, 1992 in Melbourne, Florida. Prior to that, the championships that were held in New Jersey in 1980. There's no great suspicion or conspiracy in why it's been 31 years since the last championships. We haven't submitted a bid during those 3 decades. Over the last 8 years or so, we began about the process of bringing the World Championships back to the United States, and we're here to talk to you about it today. This presentation up into 4 general sections. First, going to tell us how we got here. Robin is going to talk about the process of building the absolutely immense U.S. junior team that we have. I'll go into what to expect at the World Championships with a little more detail. And then we're all going to come back together. Legacy we hope to create for future generations. So with that, I will turn it over to Matt.
How's everybody doing? Glad that you all tuned in. Next slide, please. So, FAI Spacemodeling is a unique experience out of all the things I've done in model rocketry, and what's been a lot of fun is over the last 10 years or so, we've seen a real increase in interest in the United States in this. We had a big surge, as we showed in 1980 when we had the World Championships in Lakehurst, and then we're able to bring it back in 92 to Florida. But after that, because of a lot, it died off, and so over the last 10 years, there's been a concerted effort to increase the participation in space modeling and in the participation with the goal of bringing it back to the United States. So, picture shown here just gives you an idea of what FAI meet looks like. This one is from Romania from actually this is 2019, the European Championships, but it gives you an idea of it's a little bit different than a NARAM, and a lot different from most of the contests that we fly, and I'll get into that a little bit better. Next slide, please. So one of the things about international space modeling is if you're going to do it, the primary countries that are big into it are Eastern European countries, mostly because for them, that is their space program. They don't have a Cape Canaveral to go to, or Vandenberg Air Force Base, or anything like that, or satellites in orbit to go work on, anything like that. And this is a map of some of the recent ones since 2010. We went in the lower left-hand corner. We went to Serbia. 2012, we went to Slovakia. 2014, we went to Bulgaria. 2016, we went to Ukraine and Lviv. 2018, we went to Poland, just a little bit off the map. And 2021 World Championships was in Buzău, Romania. So literally all these meets were within driving distance if you were a European competitor. For us, we did a lot of flying. And one of the things that we realized when we went to the field in 2010 in Serbia, I was out recovering a model, and one of the Polish guys said, hey, you need, the bridge over the stream is over here, and then watch out for the bees' nests over in this particular area. It's like, how did you know that? Well, they knew that because they had flown the previous year that field on the European Championships, had gotten a chance to practice on it. So one of the things that we decided to do after the 2010 meet was start to go to the European Championships, and with the idea that it would give us two things. It would let us scout the field in advance, and would also let us use the European motors that were there that are not possible to be imported back in the United States. And most of the competitive models in the what we call the tube events are 10 millimeter diameter motors, and so it actually gave us a chance to practice. One of the nice things about this is it really let us build a camaraderie with the people who are over there, particularly for the European Championships. We didn't have any fly-offs. If you wanted to go, you could go. You could fly with events pretty much you wanted to fly. We weren't flying for medals or anything over there, so it wasn't something where we were taking medals away from any of the Europeans. And after we went a couple of different times, I mean, we really got to be good friends. And that was a decided difference from before, when we would go over every 2 years, not understand the rules, and have a lot of problems. And I remember Stuart Lodge, one of the scale judges from Great Britain, coming up at one of the banquets and saying, "See, we really don't hate you guys." Well, one of the things is we became to understand how things worked, and that made it more fun for all of us. So let me go on to the next slide. One of the things about the FAI space modeling, it is by far the pinnacle of what you can do with a model rocket. And walking into the scale room, like I've got shown in the center, is just absolutely exquisite. It is just amazing to see so many finely handcrafted models, most of which have more than 500 hours of work into them. And as James liked to say, they're fine Fabergé eggs that you then take out and splash in the mud. The detailing on the Saturn 1B on the left is just exquisite. The Vostok Soyuz on the right, the same sort of thing, just absolutely incredible. And if you're asking on both of those models where the engines are, the nozzles actually rotate out, and the holes for the engines are underneath those. Pretty cool. So anyhow, it's the pinnacle, and it's an interesting environment to go see. However, one of the things that you'll find out when you start to be on these teams is it's very different than any R competition, and the fact it is a much more of a team sport. It's really emphasized when you go overseas and you become part of a team. It's unlike anything else that's really done in model rocketry. I think the closest you could get would be to a large TARC team, but this is even more than that when it's all said and done. Next slide. So the last time we went to Romania in 2021 due to COVID, this was delayed until October. A lot of times they would have been held in the summer, late summer, and it was like only one of 3 world championships that were actually held in 2021 due to COVID. So this was the team that got their shots and braved going to Romania. It was a lot of fun. It was a little bit different than the summer ones because for the last 3 days out of the meet we froze. But and probably one of the highlights was Chris Flanagan won his 3rd international gold medal in the rocket glider event. That's a picture of Chris on the right with his trophy. Next slide. And this was some of the medals that we got. This was still early on. We didn't get everything, but it was a lot of fun to win. It was lots and lots and lots of hard work to get to that particular point. And so we took a junior team that really consisted of 3 girls when it was all said and done, and all 3 of them won medals in the junior category. So it was a tremendous amount of fun. So that's kind of where we left things in Romania. Next slide. And one of the things that James and I were able to do was get on stage and take the FAI flag as an opportunity to host the upcoming World Championships in Austin in 2023. So like I say, now it's our turn to host. And with hosting, there were a number of questions of how we were going to go do this that we had been talking about a long time. And with that, I'll go to the next slide. And I will talk about building a junior team, because basically when we got to this point, we didn't have a junior team. Robin?
When I got involved, I talked to the established members regarding the organization, the history, the vision, and what the future of the group, the desire. And I spent some time on the website looking through articles, reports, and the gallery. What I noticed when I went through the gallery is that the last names of the junior competitors matched the last names of the senior competitors. And realizing that the juniors in the past had all aged out and they weren't old enough to have children to compete, we were going to have to start from scratch. And what's similar to the business strategy that's being employed now, where we're seeing labor shortages in several organizations and several businesses, they're doing what's called that grow your own strategy, where if you don't have enough qualified candidates that are applying for your position, you take applicants with promise and then you develop the skill as they're on the job training. So that's what we decided to do. We threw out this huge net saying anybody who's born, I think after 2005, come on in. You don't have to already have experience. We'll teach you. You just have to have an interest. And we were pleased with the results. There were a couple of factors. The flyer that was sent out went out over every listserv we can think of that had juniors who were already interested in rocketry. But there was the personal touch that I think really contributed to the majority. We had a few kids come in just off the flyer, but Steve Crystal, he was on fire. Every competition that he went to, if there was a junior, he was talking to the junior and the family. Hey, you need to come try out. Dan Wolf converted his TARC team to members of the FAI flying team. Brandon Wren went through the Chinese American community that he's involved with in his home state and brought in several kids. The rocket program that my daughter and I teach during the school year, we had 5 kids decide to try out for the team. So again, relationship was important. We had individuals, senior team members, getting their family members, their friends, some of them random kids walking down the street or in the grocery store. It's like, hey, do you want to come and fly? So again, that personal touch and invitation was a significant tool for us. The flyer on the left side of the screen is what went out on the listservs. It's got hot links in it. The receiver of the flyer would just click on the links. They could see what the different categories of competition would be. And then at the bottom right-hand corner, there's a QR code. And the QR code opens a form that the junior would enter their name, contact number, where they lived, and the events that they were interested in. When I got that, I would then compare it to the list of senior team members who said that they wanted to be mentors. There was, I think this list had been in existence for a while. We just kind of brushed the dust off of it and re-asked people, hey, are you still interested? And several responded. So the invitation went out nationwide and 27 juniors responded. Next slide, please. Actually, we had 30 juniors that applied, but we lost one because he was going to be too old to be a junior by the time the competition came, and 2 others decided after selection to the team that they didn't want to continue. So we now have 27 juniors, which is, from my understanding, historical in number as well as diversity. It's one of the most diverse junior teams the FAI US team has had. We have a multiple mix of races and ethnicities. There are 12 females. We range from elementary school to high school. They're from all over the country. We have West Coast, East Coast, I don't know, you call it North Coast and South Coast, Midwest, just covering the entire United States. These are pictures from the fly-offs. You can go to the next slide. There's some more pictures from fly-offs. Again, an enthusiastic bunch, full of determination, persistent, tenacity. Many of them, this is their first experience with competition rocketry. All of them, this is their first experience with FAI events. Again, some of them are coming from TARC teams. Some of them are coming from maybe a space camp. Others have the high power certification, but no one had any experience with FAI. Next slide. And again, out on the field. And then we've got a senior in the back of one of those junior pictures, just showing camaraderie between all of the participants. It was a great experience for the juniors that showed up in Missouri. The next slide. That's just kind of the map that we used to determine where the current senior members live. And I don't know if you can see it close up, but there is actually color coding on the map. The little dots represent what events that senior was willing to mentor. And I then matched the junior that was in closest proximity with that senior for that event. Some didn't have seniors in their area, so we ended up doing virtual matching, and they were mentored virtually and then went to the local NAR club launch to practice their skills. It was just, the response was overwhelming. We had seniors that really took an interest in their juniors. They met with them regular basis, sharing strategies, equipment, the rules for your event. It was just amazing. The next slide. And that's just a couple of shots of the mentors out on the field with the juniors. And we can do the next slide. Recruitment was just the first part. That's the beginning. It's nothing that we can now sit down and say, oh, okay, we have 27 juniors. We are now in the developmental phase. Again, we were doing the grow your own strategy. So after the seeds were planted and everybody responded, what happens next? The senior.
Can I interrupt right there? Because there is a question that this would be the right time.
Okay.
Ed LaCroix wanted to know, when we did the original recruitment forms, who or where were they sent to? So where did we originally target people?
Estes helped with some of the people on their listserv. It went out to NAR registered members, people that, again, had TARC teams or Boy Scout troops that they were working with. We had, I think somebody found one on the NAR website. It was posted on the NAR website, but that individual was a go-getter anyway. He was going to find us no matter what. That's originally the listservs that we sent it to. Okay. With the picture that's shown now, we do what's called our team monthly huddles, and we are intent on getting the kids ready, not just for the launch field, but actually for life beyond the launch field. And I think that connection is important, that it's not just about getting on the field and winning a medal, but winning in life as well. A lot of the juniors have expressed an interest in aerospace, or they're still trying to figure out what they want to do, or something in STEM. And with the wealth of knowledge on the senior team and other members of NAR, we're now plugging them up together and putting them before the kids to help them figure out their flight path. For, I know it says junior team engagement, and then the snapshot of the Zoom, it's all old people on that one, but that's because the way my Zoom account is configured, on recordings, only the people that have their cameras on appear in the recording. So all the little black boxes that would be off to the side are the kids. The adults were the only ones with their things on. But we do also offer information. Our last parent information session, just in what to expect and what competition will look like, and answer any questions that way. For the kids, we try to do something every month. We met with the Hot Nozzle Society for December for s'mores. Everybody, you know, made s'mores and sat around the campfire, and we talked with the young professionals and the college students that are into rocketry, so that we can make the connection that after junior team, there is still life in rocketry. You don't have to wait until, you know, you're back mid-career to join. But we're trying to make the pipeline so that we can retain the students that are here. The next slide. Our January session was a tech talk, which our tech talks are a series of kind of informal chats with industry professionals or people who are doing the things that our kids say that they want to do. Mariba Jha, which is a renowned astrodynamicist, I always have to pause when I say that, spoke with the kids. It was a tremendously well-received event where he shared some of his struggles and what he had to overcome to do what he's doing now. After we hung up from the actual talk with him, some other kids, and I had a couple of adults stay behind too, in the conversation, the kids were encouraged to hear that they didn't have to have all straight A's and they still could achieve what they wanted. Mariba recounted the story where his college professor told him not to pursue an aerospace degree because it was going to be too hard. And, you know, I don't know where that professor is, but Mariba now is to Congress and testifying in hearings in a startup business with space trafficking because he pursued. So these are the kinds of people that we're putting before our juniors. Again, it's a long-term process that we're engaging in. It's not just getting them to Austin in July. And this is pretty much where we are now as of February. So next slide.
Thank you, Robin. I'd like to move in what people can expect at the World Championships in July in Texas. Now, there's essentially participate. One is as a volunteer, the other is as a spectator. We'll get into both of those. First off, you need to we're using TARC as kind of our guiding light in how we plan out the World Championships. There's a reason for that, and that is that TARC is the best run rocket contest in the world. Largest. It's something on the scale of a World Championships, but it's delivered in a single day. Now, the best World Championships we've ever been to was the one that the Ukrainians delivered in 2016. It was truly exceptional in what it proved. There's some obvious similarities. That's the field in Ukraine on the right. That's the TARC field on the left. There are significant differences, though. This is the team compound. Now, what you see here, first, it's large. There's a lot of people here. A lot of teams are involved. There are a lot of individual tents. Each country has traditionally been assigned their individual tent. We want to destroy that paradigm. What we're going to do is have one single large tent for all of the teams. Engage camaraderie and fellowship between the teams from the very first day of the competition. It is going to be a significant change to practice, friends, and I am encouraged that they're going to. The other difference between our championships and previous championships are those who are not flying but are in attendance can still offer a wealth of experience. Again, we're using when we attend a European or world championships elsewhere in the world, the timekeepers and the contestants are people who have no more familiarity with space modeling or model rocketry than the average person on the street. They are generally that the organizer gathered from the local community at the last possible minute. Again, we want to destroy that paradigm. Like TARC, we've already drawn on dozens of enthusiastic, experienced NAR members who run this contest. Now, there are still huge opportunities and gaps that we need to fill. If you are interested in helping administer the 2023 World Championships, we are still looking for people to team. If you're interested, please go on our website, NAR/championships, and select the volunteers tab. We'll connect you with a young man by the name of Trip Barber, who will be happy to discuss with you the volunteer opportunity. The other class of people who we encourage to come are those who might want to come just what's going on. Will this be worth a trip to Texas? Absolutely, even if it's just for a day or two. The number one question I spectators right now is, when should I attend? So I'm going to give you a brief overview of our schedule plan here. The first 2 days will be exclusively on the duration events, what we call the tube events. That's going to be parachute duration, streamer duration, glider duration, and helicopter duration. The next Wednesday, we will focus on the altitude event and the radio-controlled rocket glider event. If you want to see rockets fly out of sight, that's the day to come. If you want to see radio-controlled rocket gliders, that's also another day to be there. Is the day that I am most bullish on people attending. We're setting this up not only as kind of the highlight of the week, but it's also where we're trying to focus media attention. Scale and scale altitude, photogenic on this day. Additionally, midday, we're going to have a high-power demo session presented by Jim Jarvis, one of the most high-power flyers in America. The final day of the competition will be a half day, the S2P Precision Duration Altitude Delicate Payload Contest. A mouthful. What it is effectively the TARC challenge done metrically, and pushing hard to have this included in every World Championships going forward. Will also be. Now, finally, why are we doing this? Why are we investing so much time and effort into bringing such a large event? Well, I'm going to take you back about a decade. Junior S7 scale team ready to fly on the field at Slovakia. I need bandwidth for my audio. I'm going to stop my camera and go back. Bear with me. I'm sharing my, sorry. This is Slovakia in 2012. This is Rachel Nowak, Emma Crystal, and my daughter Campbell Duffy with junior team manager Bill Stein. They are standing there with their little Joe 1As that they've each built, working collectively with each other over the previous year. And it was an extraordinary event. These young women worked together, flew well, in last place. But they were the biggest winners of the week as far as we were concerned. Now, this is my favorite picture of all time. This is me and my daughter Campbell just after she flew successfully on that day. And we display this in our living room at home proudly, and it was one of the highlights of my life. My wife was there with us. Truly an extraordinary experience. This is why we're doing this. We want to pass off this to a new generation of flyers. Now, here's my daughter Campbell just last summer. This is at the in Missouri prior to NARAM. She's putting the dry transfers on her bumper whack model. She qualified for a spot on the senior U.S. team, and we'll be flying the S7 scale event there. Now, what I do is space modeling to a new generation of flyers. Our kids to be active in this. We want these young people that we've brought on as part of the junior team to take it over, but there's a gap that exists. And that's why we're looking in the like Matt Burke and Muzak and Sean Guzek and Ellis and Fritz Langford. We're looking for a new generation to take it over, be the caretakers of this program for the next 20 years and take it to another world championships in the States. Matt, Rob, anything to add to that?
Robin, I'll let you go first.
Again, we were talking about legacy. And when I think of the word legacy, it's the long term and not immediate impact. And right now we're looking at immediate impact. And for some of the kids, that would mean college applications and scholarships. I jokingly but seriously would tell my daughter, and I told the story before, that when she was selected to the U.S. team, it was 2018, she graduates high school 2019 and beginning to apply for colleges and scholarships. I told her, I don't care what that scholarship application asks you, your answer needs to go back to flying for the U.S. in Poland. If the essay question is, what is your favorite sandwich? Your answer is, it was on the launch field in Poland when I represented the United States as a model rocket competitor. I discovered my love for peanut butter sandwiches. Okay, that is just how it needs to be out there, because you are now one of very few people who can say that, and it sets you apart in that whole process. So I think there are immediate benefits for the kids and their families, but also the long-term part for legacy comes in three parts for me. It's the recruitment, the retention, and then the representation. We're through recruitment, but we'll have to do it every year just because of natural attrition. But the retention piece is going to be important. And I think that comes from the involvement, like you're saying, handing it over to the next generation, the representation, giving the kids an authentic leadership role and having participation in the day-to-day kinds of things of the organization, as well as the launches, is going to be key to keeping them involved and having them transition from junior to that in between young professional to established older members and retirement.
Matt?
So one of the other things about legacy is this is a tremendous hobby. Most of us that are older white guys group that have been doing this since we were teenagers. You know, we're here when man first walked on the moon. My kids and most of the kids that are alive today have never seen that. But we're getting ready to see that again. And I think we're truly in the second golden age of space, this one being driven by commercial visionaries like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos. And I think that this time space is going to be something much different, certainly more accessible to more people. We're hoping that this championships opens the door to that generation to participate, whether it's their own personal space program by building model rockets, or whether they get involved professionally in aerospace type jobs, careers, and that sort of thing as well. And so I'm hoping, at least personally for me, the goal is to leave behind something that this generation can enjoy as much as I think I have over the last 45 years. And this has been one of the pinnacles of the things that I've done in my space modeling career.
We all seem to be in alignment on what we want to be the result of this. Some questions here in a moment. Before we do that, I want to share this real quick. It wasn't mentioned during the manufacturers forum, but there was a new release from our friends at ESDAS this week. This is the world unveiling of our championships logo. It was created by friends at ESDAS. The art department there did a fantastic job. Many, many thanks to Mallory and the art department there. Before we start taking questions, NAR.championships site.
So, James, I've got a couple of questions in the Q&A that I've gone through and tried to answer them a little bit. But first one here that I think is better for a broader audience is can spectators attend the opening and closing ceremonies? And you probably should expand that to can they come watch the meet? I think you talked a little bit about it, but what about the opening and closing ceremonies?
Absolutely. Anything that's on the schedule, short of the managers' meetings, yes, you're absolutely free to attend.
And they're free of cost, right?
They're free of cost.
Yeah. Tom Dish asked if there were any plans to stream some or all of the event like was done in Ukraine, and I answered in the text that only if we wildly exceed our fundraising expectations. I want to talk just a little bit about that. Raises the fundraising aspect of it. Most of the countries that I showed you on the map earlier, those are state-supported contests. They're subsidized by local or regional governments to host the meets. We don't have that here in the United States, and so we've gone off and fundraised and are in the middle of our fundraising campaign for the meet, and we have a number of sponsorships available. So we've secured enough money to host the meet and do the basic things that we need to do. There's a bunch of stuff on our wish list. Live streaming would be one down at the bottom, but it's on the list. If we were able to raise a certain amount of money, we've gone and looked at the budget. We know what it costs to go off and do it. And so at this point, I'll also make a plea. If anybody is out there who is interested or knows somebody that would be willing to add a sponsorship to the meet, please contact either James or I. We'd be happy to talk to you about getting that sponsor's name and logo as a participant. And we have a range of sponsorship ships available from a $50,000 one all the way down to $5,000 and $2,500. So it's not necessarily out of the reach of even individuals if you would see fit. And of course, that's a tax deductible contribution. So yeah, the answer is yeah, we have big plans. We'll see. It's very dynamic at this point in time. We've got a couple of things on the fundraising front that are coming in that we're working on closing right now, and a couple more that are out there that we're working to capture. So
Matt, I'm going to stop you there for a moment. The question started with, will it be live streamed? And the answer is we certainly hope so, and we're headed that direction. But we can't confirm or deny that at this point.
Yes.
So,
yeah. Severio Prado asked how many countries are expected to participate. I'd said about 12 to 18, but James, do you want to elaborate on who you've had interest coming to the contest?
So we've gotten interest from all of the usual suspects at this point. I can tell you two countries that will not be there, and they are Russia and Belarus. They are effectively banned by the International Olympic Committee, and the FAI follows the lead of the IOC. So that is we know that for sure. We've received positive interest from Ukraine, Romania, Serbia, Italy, Germany, the UK, Canada, China, Japan. Those are the ones that immediately off the top of my head, but there are more. So it's going to be a world championships. We do anticipate the teams from outside the United States will be a little bit smaller this year, especially the European teams. And the reason for that is cost. This is going to be a very expensive adventure for many of our Eastern European friends. On the other hand, the Chinese team will probably be absolutely immense. It might be bigger than the U.S. team. So
historically in the past, it has been. Another question from Buzz McDermott. Is there somewhere event volunteers can go to find out what more is it, where they should stay, etc.? You want to address those, James?
Sure. Again, Trip Barber is heading up our volunteer efforts. Our greatest need right now is for timekeepers, experienced timekeepers. You don't need to be a competition type. If you know how a rocket behaves and how to work a stopwatch, you're qualified. The housing will be, the primary housing option will be the dorms of Southwestern University, which is a small liberal arts campus in Georgetown, Texas, just north edge of Austin. We understand that college dorms are not for everyone, and there's also going to be a list of nearby hotels that's already been published as part of the bulletin, which you can, again, find on the website. If you're interested in volunteering, please reach out to Trip. You can find his address on the event website, nar.org/championships. What do we have next, Matt?
Chad Ring, Tim Dodd might have an interest in streaming it.
We'll look into it.
Will the patch be available? Will you make a patch with that logo? Tara Willard wants to know.
So great question. I know nothing about patch production yet. I'm going to be learning. We're going to find out if we can produce that as a patch. My concern is that it might be too complex, but I've seen some awfully complex patches. I sure hope we can do it. Let me put it that way.
So there was an earlier question. Does the U.S. team participate in any other FAI international competitions other than the FAI World Championships? And it's a two-part answer. The answer is, first, this year we're not going to go to Europe. Usually we'll go to the European Championships in 2011, I think, or 2013. But there are 4 meets in the United States that you can come fly at. And the Arizona Cup is going to be in the Tucson, Arizona area the first weekend in March. So up north and cold. It's a chance to get out and fly in the delightful 75-degree sunshine. And that actually is the first wide FAI Cup schedule. We'll be holding the North Coast Cup in mid-April at the actual WSMC flying site. That really is aimed at getting a good dry run of all the contest arrangements for what we'll be doing in July. I'm hosting those first. Is hosting the Can-Am Cup. That'll be at the AMA headquarters site in Muncie, Arizona on Memorial Day weekend. And then I believe also there's the Galactic Cup also at Muncie that'll be, I think, Labor Day weekend. So there's 4 opportunities to fly in official FAI events. And kind of the neat thing that one of the other things that we've grown is there's a listing of the top flyers in the world based on your scores at 3 FAI events. Historically, we hadn't really run more than 2 in the US for a long period of time. Last year, we did run more than 2, and we actually had a number of American flyers end up in the top 10 lists. Brian Music in particular did well in helicopter, and I think Terrell Willard also ended up. And traditionally, that's been the bastion of the Eastern European modelers, and for now we're seeing American modelers making their way into the list. So it's an exciting time. And then let's see.
So a lot of people are popping in with offers to help with the patches. We know all the usual sources for the patches already. The question is that I need to discuss with a patch manufacturer. Can a patch of this complexity be rendered in thread? I don't know the answer to that, but I do know where to go. But thank you. Ian Lewis, a friend of ours from the United Kingdom, has pointed out that the U.S. did participate in the Ljubljana Cup last year. Just as a point of interest, the traditional space modeling year runs from roughly April through October. The final event on the space modeling calendar is a great big contest/party that takes place in Slovenia, one of the most beautiful countries in Europe, every October. And we did have American participation there this last time. Emma Crystal went over and represented the United States as a competitor. Additionally, John and Ellis Langford went over and represented Estes as part of that experience. So thank you for pointing that out. Yeah. What else have we got here? So let's go. So I want to expand on your question. The question asked, what does it mean that the championships are done metrically? This is an international event. In the rest of the world, those countries that have not gone to the moon all use metric measurements for everything. So yes, this is the championships are done metrically. When I made the comment earlier about the metric version of TARC, when we run TARC here in the United States, the American Rocketry Challenge, we challenge those young people to fly to a certain number of feet. That doesn't work in FAI championships. So when we rewrote the rules to include a similar event in FAI competition, we listed the altitude target as 300 meters. So when I say metric TARC, that's the reference there. Okay, looking for any more questions? Robin, any final thoughts here before we shut it down?
Final thoughts. I'm excited to participate. The little piece that I bring to the entire pie has been well received. I'd like to thank the NAR group for that. And it's created lifetime memories for me. And we hope we're doing the same thing for the junior team.
Wonderful. Matt, any final comments?
I don't have anything further, plus I lost my screen somewhere along the way here.
Okay. Well, while you mull that over, I'll make the comment that this has already 6 months out, 5 months out from the event, already been one of the most rewarding experiences of my life. And I appreciate the trust that my friends and teammates have placed in me and allowing me to take this ball and run with it. I also cannot adequately express my appreciation to the committee members that we've been able to gather together to work behind the scenes to put this together. And I've just got to say that I think the team that we've assembled to deliver this experience to the world and to the NAR and the space modeling community could not have been any better. And it's been a joy to work with all of you. So you guys know who you are, and thank you so much. We need to correct. Here's metric torque is being flown with clusters of A motors. Matt, we need to talk about motors. Guys, motors don't matter, okay? People get twisted around the axle about the fact that we can't get European competition motors here in the United States. Are they higher performance? Yes, a little bit. You do want to use European motors when you fly in Europe. This is an American contest being flown in America, and we have a commitment and an obligation to fly them with widely available, 100% legal transportable motors. Not every event is flown at A impulse. For the tube events, parachute, streamer, helicopter, boost glide, and altitude, we're using 13 millimeter Estes A motors. It's simple as that. They're available pretty much worldwide. And in those places where they're not available, Estes is actively working to make them available. The other events, Scale Altitude uses B and C motors. Scale uses Estes and Aerotech motors. They are the best in the world available for that event. The Radio Control Rocket Glider event will use Aerotech motors, again, finest in the world. The TARC event will use Aerotech motors, just like American TARC. They will not be using clusters of A motors. Okay, Matt, I got kind of fired up there. Anything?
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah. I don't think I have anything more to add than that.
I've vented. I feel better.
I'm twice. Yeah.
Saviero, thank you for your kind words. With that, I think we're going to bring it to a close here. Matt, Robin, you guys are great friends. Thank you so much for joining me here today. And guys, everybody come join us in Texas, okay? Take care. Bye. Thanks.